Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Friday if you made it. If you're a 9 to 5er and Monday through Friday, well, congratulations. It's the end of your week. It's Memorial Day weekend, so that means 3-day weekend for those of us who are fortunate to have a 3-day weekend. I'm excited about it. This weekend is my mother's birthday, so shout out to my mom. Happy birthday, Mom. What else? Let's see. Got my hair trimmed, not that you'll notice because it's still really long and I like the length, but it needed a trim because I don't think I had a trim since the fall. I never had time, and then I was so I every now and again I'd have time to go to a salon, but they would only have time to do my roots, and I was like, all right, let's just do the most important thing so that I don't look 80 just yet. I'm not ready just yet. So this week, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. One of them is sort of going back to last week's show and the rising anti-Semitism, because it's not over yet, and we can't just brush it under the rug. It's still a thing. It's still prevalent, and I'm very concerned at the lack of headlines that it's getting. It's now very popular, particularly in New York City and other large cities around the country, for Palestinians or supporters of Palestine to shout at people walking down the street, "Are you a Jew?" and then attacking them physically. I don't see marches. I don't see windows breaking and things burning down. I don't see anything, to be quite honest. There's a few things that I see, and most of it is from the right. I think all of a sudden it's become very inconvenient to defend Jews when the perpetrators of these attacks are people that the left is trying to protect. Let's just call it what it is. There is this sort of misrepresentation of what Israel is and the Jews in Israel, that that because the people in Palestine have darker skin, they're the good guys. If you have darker skin nowadays, it doesn't matter. By dint of your skin color, you are the good guy. And Jews, predominantly the ones that are in Europe and the United States, they're white, so they're the bad guys, right? But a couple of things. That is just a bullshit argument because skin color doesn't tell you anything. And more than 50% of the Jews in Israel are not white. They are Arab. They're from Arab countries. They're, Yemen, Egypt, Morocco. Just to name a few, they're darker skinned Jews. These are not white Eastern European Jews for the most part. So that's just something that I wanted to get out of the way. I would really like to see more people calling this out for what it is, and remembering that if it's, the people on the left, and I've seen, by the way, some of my secular Jewish friends, you fucking idiots, who are saying that there's nothing wrong with saying that Israel is the bad guy and to free Palestine, and, that this is not anti-Semitism, it's just anti-Zionism. Well, what do you think Zionism is? Zionism is the right of the Jewish people to have a state, to have a place to live. That's all Zionism is. And if you were against the Jewish people having a place to call their own, that's been theirs, by the way, since the beginning of time, and it was rightfully returned to them in 1948. It wasn't, Jews were still living there, by the way. If you think that that's wrong, then that's anti-Semitism. And if it's not anti-Semitism, why then are Palestine supporters beating Jews in the street in the United States, in New York? If this is just about land, if this is just about Israel, why are you beating up innocent Jews in the street? You don't have an answer for that. You don't. So I really wish, people on the left, particularly people who think that they speak from authority because they have Jewish bloodline, I wish that you would think about this just a little bit harder. It would be nice. One other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I would like to get into sort of who I am, why I'm here, why am I doing this. I'm sure some of you have wondered, some of you already know, but kind of why did I start this channel? But before I do that, I wanted to just touch upon a YouTuber. There's a YouTuber, and probably a lot of you have no idea who she is. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, she's a pretty popular YouTuber, but she's someone that I watch, and her name is Nikki Phillippi, and she has a lifestyle YouTube channel of the same name, her name. I've been watching her for several years now. I found her when I was very acutely ill with my chronic condition. I had a very bad episode, and I was not allowed to eat for 4 days because I had a reaction to my medication. And so no food, only water. And so for 4 days, because they wanted to hospitalize me, and me, the medical person, I was like, you're not hospitalizing me. I'll do this at home. I promise I won't eat. And I didn't. So I started binging food videos on YouTube, and I would stay up till 3 a.m. with my husband asleep next to me and the headphones in and looking at my laptop. And I just started watching people go on like making pressed sandwiches in a pressed sandwich maker. And I started watching people go on grocery hauls. And I found Nikki Phillippi because she was doing like a Trader Joe's grocery haul. I had only been in a Trader Joe's once before. She made me want to go to Trader Joe's. Anyway, I kept watching her. She's a little nasal. She's very high pitched. She's very hyper. But she has always been like a pretty comforting channel for me to watch. She vlogs about fashion and her day-to-day and her homesteading with her chickens and her husband and their son and their dogs and moving from California to Tennessee. And I watch her cook all the time, and I get fun ideas from her. And she has always just seemed like a very lovely person. She recently vlogged about euthanizing her dog, a dog that she has shown many times in her videos. Her dog Bowser, who was a really cute dog, and what she and her husband ultimately euthanized him for was he had viciously attacked other dogs and had come after people at some point throughout the years. And then when their son pulled food out of the dog's mouth or took food away from the dog, they made the decision. The dog bit the child. And so they made the decision to euthanize them. And I have to tell you, as an animal lover and an animal rescuer, I couldn't watch the whole video because in my mind, I could think of many things that you could do, many options, from separating them in the house until you can make a plan, maybe giving the dog to someone else, maybe hiring a trainer for intensive, training, like you send the dog to the trainer and then come back, let the dog come back to you. That being, I really didn't agree with this decision. But that being said, I don't think she deserved the backlash that she received. That whole cancel culture thing. So this person who, again, she's well known within her circle on YouTube, and then she sort of blew up and she's been in the news. I've been seeing articles about her, and I was really shocked that they caught on to this. And I was really upset because the abuse and vitriol that they've received, I thought was a little bit harsh. And since I have something of a platform, and I don't know, maybe some of you watch her, you might know about this, and the viciousness, I mean, they're going after her really hard. She has stopped making videos. It's been probably about a month now. She privatized her Instagram. You can't even contact her, as well as her husband. And I have to say, I don't think that it was the right decision. I'm not happy with what she and her husband ultimately decided to do. But they were coming from a protective standpoint of their child. And, I think, sort of chasing her into, she's been doing this. She's been enjoying this. And she's been bringing, good content to the internet. And I just think chasing her away, I don't think that's the right thing to do. And then what they started to do was go back. People started to dig into her other videos about when she was planning on doing an adoption. And I remember watching those videos. And they had decided not to adopt, I think, from Vietnam, because if you adopt from Vietnam, your adoption isn't legalized for 1 year. So if you make a mistake or step out of line, they can take that child from you. And she said that one of the things that you're prohibited from doing is showing pictures or anything of that child on the internet. And she said, look, we're YouTubers and we can't promise that that's not going to happen. And what if we accidentally take a photo and it somehow ends up on the internet? Are we going to lose our child? And so they decided it wasn't right for them. Well, now because of the dog incident, people are ripping her apart, basically saying she's an opportunist and, you want to use your baby to make money. And I thought, I watched that video when it came out, and that's not the case. And why am I bringing this up? Well, if she's watching, or if anybody that she knows is watching, here's what I have to say. Nikki, get back onto YouTube, own what you did and just say, it's nobody's business. This was the decision we made. Moving on. Because if you plan to make a video apologizing, bad decision. Don't do it. If you plan to run away from the internet, bad decision. Don't do it. Don't ever cower to a mob. This is my advice. Don't apologize. You have nothing to offer anybody. If you're sad and regretful over your decision, that should be something between you and your husband and your family. Don't offer any of that to the public. Get back on YouTube. Do what you love doing. Make videos about your chickens and your child and your cooking. And people will watch and people will like. Disable your comments for a while. Disable, the amount of likes that you get, and get on with it. Get back on. You have support. Don't let them cancel you. You can only be canceled if they let you. And that kind of goes to sort of one of the reasons why I'm here. So who am I? And why am I doing this? So as a lot of you have already, you already either know me personally or you've watched some of my videos, and I've talked about how I was a midwife before this, and then I just started a show, right? Like I just started a channel. But what you guys don't know is that I have, I've been a conservative. I've always been a conservative. And I've always been afraid of talking about being a conservative, particularly in that field. It is a very women-centric field, and it is a particularly leftist field. And when I say leftist, I mean that the propaganda that comes out of my national organization is so freaking ridiculous. And I get emails all the time from my national organization, and sometimes I'm horrified by some of the things that they email us, and it's propaganda. It has nothing to do with health. Nothing. It's just political propaganda. I loved what I did, but let's go back a little bit. So when I decided to go to midwifery school, I had already had a bachelor's, and the company I was working for was willing to pay for my master's 100%. And I had worked with midwives before, and I thought they were incredible, and I loved the invigoration of bringing a baby into the world. It's just a very magical feeling. It really does something to you and to your soul, and it rejuvenates you. And so I decided that was what I wanted to do, and I used that incentive to go to midwifery school. While I was in midwifery school, I was working full-time Monday through Friday. I had a good life, and instead of being something like a nurse practitioner where I could, again, continue to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or even, shortened hours, I chose something that, doesn't allow you to sleep and is very intensive, which is fine, but it takes you away from your family and your friends, and you have no life, and you generally become a shell of who you are. Some people are fine with that. But while I was in school, I developed my chronic illness. And I went from a very healthy person to a very sick, malnourished, and emaciated person very quickly. When I started my clinical semester, meaning you're not just doing didactic learning, you're actually doing your immersion in, you're on site, I became so sick and I started to lose weight, and I couldn't keep food in, and I lost 21 pounds from the month of January to the same year, July. And it wasn't a healthy weight loss. And I couldn't see a doctor because I was so busy with work and school and the demands on me, and the requirements for school were so intensive. There was no time you could take off. If the doctor gives you an appointment day, you have to take that day, and I couldn't risk that being a day where I'd have to make an excuse and be seen as weak. Because one thing that happens, women say they're with women until you look like the weak woman, and then they're not with you. So that, I didn't want to be thinned from the herd because I already had a hard enough time. A lot of the people I went to school with were assholes. And I didn't want to feel like the weak one. So I muddled through. You had to get really good grades. You can't get a C in a master's program. You have to get a B. You have to get a B minimum in everything. So, and plus I was in competition with myself to be really, really good. And for me, I also have a hard time reading. That's something else I'll get into at another point, but like I didn't know I had a reading problem. I'm a great writer, I'm a great orator, but when it comes to reading, I have a problem. And so it took me, probably 5 times as long as my peers because I had to read and read over and over the same paragraph until I actually absorbed any of it. And that was hard. It made it so much harder. And so I got very sick, malnourished, pale, iron deficient, to the point where, and nobody asked me how I was doing or if I was okay. I had to take off school for a year, and I didn't take it as a sign that maybe this wasn't the right thing for me. I was like, no, I have to finish what I started. And I didn't. I didn't listen. And I finished what I started, graduated, felt a lot of pride. And then I started working in the field. And and it was amazing, but it got to the point where I didn't see my family. I didn't see my friends. I was so miserable all the time, and it wasn't helping my health. I started to develop a new autoimmune disease in the last year. We still aren't 100% sure what it is. What we know is that my inflammatory markers are increased. But during my tenure as a midwife, I will say that one of the things that I didn't like, and this is just my gripe, this is not the fault of anyone else, you have to be super professional. Not necessarily even with the patients. The patients, I just sort of let loose as long as I had the knowledge to give them and I was likable. The patients liked it. It's the people that you work with. They're very stuffy. They're very overeducated. Everybody reads all the studies and they're totally up to date with all the latest information, and they can, they eat their textbooks, and they're very, very self-important. And if you don't carry yourself similarly, again, they thin you from the herd. So I found myself constantly having to guard my tongue all the time. My opinions, I couldn't have opinions. I couldn't have political ideologies that were separate, because it was sort of, generally understood that everybody believed the same thing in leftism. And I didn't. And I met a few people within the field that weren't necessarily providers, but maybe they were ancillary staff like nurses or MAs, maybe that did agree with me, but, as a provider, I had to be really, really careful, and I had to be ousted. So for years and years and years, I've had to kind of dampen myself down, and I've stifled myself to the point where I was suffocating. I was trying to be something that I wasn't in order to appease other people. And again, that had nothing to do with my practice, because how I practiced with my patients was different, and I could be myself. But I haven't had an opinion in years. And again, we shouldn't even be having these discussions at work, but having to pretend that I'm something that I'm not, it really started to eat at me. So last year, I know I've always been a bit of an entertainer. I like to make jokes. I have a lot of stuff to say. I can talk and talk and talk. Excuse me. And, some people actually like to listen. But I decided last summer, I was going to start this channel. And I set up the studio, and I bought equipment, and I had taped a couple of things, and I didn't like how they came out, and I was a little bit awkward in front of the freaking camera. And I just didn't have the time to keep up with it because my schedule was so absurd. And so I just sort of put it on the back burner. I was like, I guess it's indefinitely done, this channel. And that was killing me. I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about certain issues. It's not like I can talk about them with my colleagues, and, I never see my friends anymore because I was working, a lot of the time I was working over 60 hours a week. Supposed to work 40. That's what they said when I started, and that wasn't the case. I was working over 60 hours a lot. It wasn't just me. It was everybody. So again, some people are okay with that. I'm not okay with that. It's not sustainable for a person to be healthy and work that much and not sleep and not repair and not heal and not be with family and have quality of time. And unlike some people, I actually really like my husband, and I like my kid and my family. I like spending time with them. So and time is fleeting, and I know the value of time. And so I I guess I felt like I was just sort of constantly walking on a tightrope and masking who I was. And I almost forgot who I was. And I wanted to leave the field for a while. And finally, I left the field in March. And I have to say, I mean, I miss it a lot. I miss the adrenaline. I miss caring for the patients. And I miss doing all those amazing things like helping catch a baby and, all the fun emergency stuff. But I got my life back and I got my voice back. I get to be me now. I get to rediscover who I am. I get to have an opinion, and I don't have to worry about backlash anymore. And I can't tell you what that feels like. And I'm not saying that I'm free from backlash from the internet, and I'm not free from backlash from other people, but I no longer have to worry. I no longer have that unnecessary ancillary anxiety of having to wonder what if somebody finds out. Because you know something? I don't care if you find out now. I blocked, for the longest time, this channel was blocked to everyone I worked with in the past. I was like, okay, well, I still live in the same town as a lot of these people. What are they going to think? What if we cross paths? I don't care what you think. I don't. You don't care what I think. And I've spent so many years caring what people think. And I lost myself in the process. And I'm not doing that again. Especially now that we're living in a time in this country where if we don't start standing up for ourselves and standing up to this monster that is, the Democrat Party, we're going to be eaten by them. So it's time for the people out there watching who are afraid of remaking themselves or afraid of losing their jobs and their livelihood. You're going to lose more than that if you don't stand up. There's safety in numbers. And there's plenty of us non-fringe, non-lunatic conservatives and I would say the majority of us are non-fringe, non-lunatic. We say relative things that were pretty mainstream, just a few years ago, and now we're the crazy ones because we think BLM is a grifting organization, and that men can't be women can't be men, and so on and so forth. We have to stop hiding ourselves, stop losing ourselves. It's okay. It's okay to be conservative. It's okay to have a voice. And I'm not going to do that anymore. We're living in a country sort of where we're being led by the feelings brigade. The weakest and the most fragile amongst us are the leaders. They're the ones in charge. You've got AOC and Omar and Pelosi and Schumer. These are the weakest people, and they have their little minions out in all of our towns and all of our cities and all of our communities, sort of doing their bidding. Weak, squishy men, loud, vile women. I remember it used to be good. It used to be a good thing to be sensitive, and we need some sensitivity. I'm a very empathetic person. I feel for others. Sometimes I actually do feel directly for them. But it can't be all emotion all the time. It's clouding our collective judgment. It's dampening our survival skills. You know who's not weak and dampening their survival skills? Communist China and Russia. I don't want to be like them. I think that's too extreme. There's a nice balance. Communists in the United States like BLM, they're uplifted by weak people like AOC and Hollywood celebrities. And they're allowed to penetrate the fabric of our society. They don't get that the poisonous snake always bites the hand that feeds them. Right now, they're useful idiots, but, their movement will inevitably outgrow they'll outgrow their usefulness. And then it'll be too late for us at that point. So that's why I'm here. I'm here because I don't want to shut up anymore. I want to be unprofessional. That's why I named the show Versus Unprofessional. I'm not doing this anymore. This game where I pretend that I'm something that I'm not, and that I don't care what's happening to the direction of this country, and that I don't care what's happening to people on platforms and social media that are being censored by saying things that are innocuous. All right, well, I've rambled on enough. That's the story. Anyway, I hope you found this somewhat interesting. If you agree about the anti-Semitism, about Nikki Phillippi, or just about saying what you believe and not wanting to worry about the consequences anymore, please tell me what you think. I want to hear from you. Those of you who are conversing with me on YouTube, I love it. Or sending me private messages. I can't tell you the quiet outpouring of support that I've gotten from former coworkers. It's unbelievable. And just, or friends and family, just people who are watching and they're like, I'm watching. Or, my really good friend who's like, I don't agree with half of what you say, but I watch you and I'm like, you go girl. The support means a lot. I'm here for you. Okay. I'm here to be a voice and maybe to be an inspiration to get you to speak up too, so that we don't stand down in the face of idiots. I guess, I don't know. I can't think of a word. But that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, I appreciate it. And I guess I will see you next week. Happy Friday. Bye.